I made a few videos a little while back about these Yongnuo LED panels, 3 different ones, and up to this point I haven't really mentioned it, but I've been using 2 of the 3 of them for every single video that I make. They're actually sitting way up there, but I've just got them kind of covered up with what are effectively very thin sheets. Sheets that were taken off of existing softboxes that I already owned, and they're getting the job done, they're not really working out great. So somebody pointed out down in the comments a few days ago that there were actually existing softboxes over on Amazon you could pick up for them, so I decided to try a couple. And I have them here in front of me. You can see one is branded, it's Defuse, the other one is just a blank black bag. But according to Amazon, it's the SB300 from Ulanzi. The big differences between these two, other than just the branding, this one is supposedly a little bit less deep than the Defuse, but the Defuse is about twice the price. This one was about 15 or 16 bucks, the Defuse is about 30. So I thought, like I said, I'd just buy a couple of them, give them a shot. Let's dive into it. So first up, the Ulanzi or SB300 or whatever you want to call it. Once this pops out, it's probably never going to pop back in properly, but just like all the other foldable things like this, it's basically just going to pop open. So we'll go a little wider here and whoop, there you go. Now immediately, this is a little bit weird. Maybe that's just me. This is about how far it pops out, and you can see these little magnets kind of hold it in place whenever you put some pressure on them. And there we go. Now that I've popped everything out, kind of straightened it out a little bit, didn't have to do anything special to it. This is going to be a softbox that I put over my light. Looks like there are Velcro straps here on the back. Yeah, they all just kind of come open like that. This has a little bit of flexibility to it. Let's just see if it works sticking this Yongnuo air light inside of it, kind of just like this, and it's not perfect by any stretch, but I don't think it's actually intended to be used on the Yongnuo Air, although it does mention it over on the listing. The other 2 lights that I've got actually have barn doors on them, which will help all of this to hold it in place. So whenever I do actually start testing these out, I will be using it with the barn doors that will help it hold in place a little bit better. But this is just sort of a reference. We'll come back to this in just a minute. This is the one thing most people seem to be complaining about, is it's only about 3.5 inches wide, meaning from the place you put the light in to where the front is, the white front, you're only going to get about 3 inches of diffusion, if you will. But moving on to the Defuse softbox, this one has a lot more packaging to it. All the Velcro straps included right here in this first bag, and the second bag there had the softbox itself in it. So let's pop this one open. Whoop. And just like the first one, it's got these little sticks with magnets to hold the sides in place. And again, just like the first one, now that I've got them all popped out, it's all holding in place nicely, securely. And again, on the back, we've got all this Velcro and very large opening, much larger opening than the other one. Overhead camera doesn't go quite wide enough, but if you just put them side by side, you can see the opening on the first one, the super cheap one, much smaller opening. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because if we take this YN300 air panel, yeah, that's really big. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This one that I purchased is definitely not going to work with the air panel. Hopefully with the barn doors, it'll work with the others. So I guess we'll just have to try that. But again, the included straps, they've just got Velcro on the ends, kind of go like this, cover up where they can, and that's sort of how it would work. Although looking back at the first one, the Velcro is actually a lot more significant on it. Might be worthwhile to actually swap these straps, because these are sort of small and pitiful. Although this area here may not be wide enough to allow the actual barn door to fit through. We're just gonna have to see. And before I do go any farther on this, I took a look over at Amazon, I looked back in the packaging that I got. This is not gonna fit 100% perfectly on mine, because it's actually intended for an Amaran 528 panel or a 672 panel, so about twice the size of the panel that I actually have. But with the barn doors installed and everything, I think it will still work, so I'm gonna give it a shot. They have 3 different sizes of this available, and I thought that I bought the smallest one. Perhaps I did not. But without any further ado, let me just go ahead and take these 2 lights down, and I'll see if I can get them installed, maybe put them back, show you how it works, and then put them back up and see if they look any different. This is just sort of a reference. I'm using the 2 LED panels with a little scrim over them and my ring light, and I'll be using those again here in a minute. Alright, we've got one panel down, the panel that I had up here, and as you can see here in front of me, I've gone ahead and taken the Velcro straps off the back. This is the LED panel. It has the frosted insert in it, and I can basically just set it on here, and it definitely looks like a perfect fit. This section is going to be blocking out just a little bit of the light, but in reality, I think it's the right size, the right shape and size for this. On the other hand, the much larger one, as you can see, there's a lot of area around here that's not being covered with the light, but at the same time, it's not falling all the way in or anything. If there's a lot of pressure put on it or anything, these barn doors might break off, but given that it's actually going to be held up by that, if anything, it's going to pull the other way. So this might work out. And there's not really a great way to compare these other than doing like one light at a time right in my face, and maybe we'll do that right now. So just as a starting point of comparison, the only light I have turned on in the room at the moment is my bright LED panel. This is the Yongnuo YN300 Mark III, the 300 LED, all 5500K light. Links again again to everything down below using the diffuse larger LED panel, the more expensive one, not the one that's only 3 inches wide, because that one's right here. Now we'll switch, and here's that same LED panel, same settings, different diffuser. This is using the SB300, the $15 or $16 one, and I'm actually gonna have to take a minute and look through the footage and see what the differences are. I'll get the rest of my lighting kit and everything set back up with both of these softboxes in place, and then we'll wrap things up. And actually, after going back and doing some careful scrutinization, a lot of it's really gonna depend upon the light that you're using it with. The main panel that I have up here is a 300 LED panel, and they are all 5500 Kelvin. On that panel, it made a little teeny tiny bit of a difference going between the two, mainly in terms of like this corner of the room. You can see a little more light with the first one. When I tested it out briefly on the other one, which I didn't do any video of because it was not terribly bright, I've got a bunch of lights over there, not just the one panel. That panel actually only has 150 5500 Kelvin bulbs in it, and it made a much bigger difference using the bigger softbox on it because it diffused it so much more, you really couldn't see much. So actually the super cheap one was the better option for me for that light, so it's a very specific thing, but I kind of like them both. So the super cheap one is not as bad as everyone seems to be saying it is. It is a whole lot more shallow. They both work appropriately with the lights, so I can't complain. So I will leave links to both of them as well as videos about the lights and everything down below, everything I can think to remember. So if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button down below, subscribe to the channel to get all the videos that I make as soon as they become available, and we will see you again next time.